Boxing. Today we've got Dave Morris, who's going to give a talk about his initiative up in the Northwest. And then we're going to follow on with Andy's review of Carl Frampton, which don't promise to take long. And then we'll launch into North versus South. So, Dave, thanks for your time.
Awesome.
Over to you, fella.
Cheers, Carl. Thank you. So Carl got chatting to me about a project that I'm setting up in an area in Wigan, or Leigh. Actually, I get shot for saying Wigan when we're from Leigh because it doesn't really go down too well. But in a little area in Leigh called Higher Folds, it's an estate near me where I was brought up. And it's with the lockdown, everything that's going on, there's been one or two things that's been happening there, and it's just not the best place, everyone, right now. Everywhere, to be honest, people are a little bit bored and they're getting into things they shouldn't be getting into. So I've decided that I'm going to set up a free boxing session. Now, I initially said I'm going to fund it for 6 weeks, no matter what. I put it out there, social media, spoke to a few businesses, and it's got quite a bit of traction. We're at a point now where we can fund a program for 11 to 16-year-olds where they come once a week. We provide them free boxing sessions for a full year. We've managed to get the funding for that, and hopefully it'll just hook them into just some positive activity. I mean, I'm sure all those guys here know the benefits of boxing, how it can help young people out who maybe go down the wrong path, or even those that aren't quite confident. So that's the short-term plan. We're going to set up, it's called Boxing for Better. We're going to set this up, give kids from the estate or people that want to come on the estate a chance to do boxing for free. We're going to give them a chance to get some qualifications out of it as well. There's a guy called Hugh Shillingford, who I think if he was on here, he'd be pitching for the South team because he's a Southerner. But he set up this boxing awards program where you can get a recognised qualification through ASDAN just from demonstrating boxing skills. So we're going to get some of the young people that. It's all going to be for free for them. We've got local businesses, the council, a few of the stakeholders that have said, yeah, it's great. It's what we need to be doing now, especially a few of the businesses that have done well during lockdown. I think they're thinking, a lot of people have suffered. It's probably time we put our hands in our pockets and try to help out with a few initiatives like this. So it's going good. We've not started yet because the restrictions are still kind of in place, but we're aiming for June, late June to start it, and then hopefully for at least 12 months, we can provide that for free for anyone who wants to turn up. After that, we're looking at kind of doing the same sort of model, but then working with targeted groups. So there's all different groups out there that face barriers, that stop them reaching their potential. There's a few that you can name off the top of you. You've got your NEETs, those that are not engaged in education, training or employment. You've got your yachts. You've got, at the moment, there's a lot of talk, and I've been speaking to a lot of women that don't feel safe because of some of the events that have been going on.
Will you be working with schools and that? Will you be working with colleges as well?
Well, I currently do that. I've got my own business that's aside called Become a Champion. And for the last 5 years, I've been going in school. One of my passions was to get boxing back in schools. Because remember when I did GCSE at school, one of my sports, you could pick 4 sports. And my sport was boxing. That was my mate. That's all I did, to be honest. And I wasn't allowed to do it. It wasn't on the curriculum. I said, no, you can't. It's always been a passion of mine to get boxing back into schools. Which I've tried to do now up in the Northwest, and I go into about 9 different schools doing that at the moment.
How are you finding that, Dave?
It's good. When I go in there, it's brilliant. Kids love it, teachers love it, all the feedback's superb. I think there's a little bit of a stigma attached to boxing, isn't there?
Is there any snobbery in schools around boxing?
Snobbery is not really the right word. Not the schools that I end up getting into anyway. But there's a bit of a stigma.
Safety jump in, do they?
Yeah, that's the issue. I think
that's what it might be.
You get the head teacher who's sat there, who's kind of got a million things and 20 different plates to spin at once, and you say, "Oh, boxing, let's bring it in," and immediately the guard goes up. And then when you explain it's non-contact, it's delivered in a safe and controlled way. You've got an experienced level 2 coach. And you start showing them some of the outcomes and give them a little bit of information what other people have had. They then start to like it. And what you actually find is the best people that or the people that do best out of it, it's not always your ones that are kind of up there that are causing a lot of the trouble, a lot of the issues, the ones that are already they certainly look very confident. It's usually those that are bottom of the pack, those that aren't very confident, don't have a lot of self-esteem, struggle with the self-worth. And when you put them into a situation where they're developing themselves physically, they're learning new skills, and they can actually do it, and people kind of step back and go, this guy's doing well, and they've never had that before, and it really does. It helps them. So it's a great sport that you're training against yourself. You don't have to be part of a team, and you're not scared of letting other people down. You start here, and you can only go one way. Whereas in a football team or a rugby team or a netball team, you got people who, and the pressure from the team to do well can sometimes inhibit you. Whereas with boxing, you don't really have that. So it's once you get in there, once you got your foot in the door, it's received really well. And
How dependent are you on sponsors, mate? You know, because although you've got everything going on in terms of you getting on board with the youth offending team, schools, colleges. There's the financial side as well.
So I'll give a little shout out to some of them now. So initially I said I'm going to fund. It's going to be free. I'm going to fund 6 weeks. So I'll coach for free. I'll take all my own equipment. There'll be no payment for my time, and I'll pay for the venue. The venue that I'm using is said, well, we'll give it for free for that 6 weeks, and then we'll see where we're at. So that's great. There was a company that got in touch with me straight away from LinkedIn. A guy from Lee, Darren Jackson from Lee, got in touch with me in his company, IDNS, idns.co.uk. If you want to check them out, they said we'll chuck you £1,000 straight away. So they give me £1,000, which meant we've got 12 weeks there funded easily. And then we have another company called I think it's Blueprint Biobank. It's a friend of mine. He does some sort of nothing to do with boxing, but he does some science stuff. But he's from the area, so he's chucked £500. And then Steve Woods you might know Steve Woods from. He actually owns the gym where Frampton trains from. Him and Jamie Moore.
The manager, the boxing manager. Yeah. I know you.
I had a meeting with him last week, and he's chucked us £1,000, and he's given us £600 worth of equipment, so all the gloves, all the skipping ropes, all the pads. So we're well on the way, and then the council's give us a couple of £grand. So that's kind of those 12 months now, and we don't have to worry. We can say, listen, come in, do it for free, nobody pay. Take advantage of it. And in that 12 months now, we've got to show that it works. We've got to have evidence of outcome, and hopefully then we can try and find a way to make it financially sustainable so it can be permanent. And that's the challenge, really. But we're in such a fortunate position that for 12 months we can breathe, which is I only started 3 weeks ago, and it's just gone from strength to strength. So I'm blown away with it. I'm impressed. It's good.
Is there any doors that you've not opened that you'd like to open, Dave?
I mean, I think the two things that I want to look at is anyone who's done especially well out of the pandemic. I think there's loads of people in certainly my community that's done well out of the pandemic for one reason or another. I think not just towards my initiative, but anything that's going to support grassroots or the community, they should be looking now and thinking, right, it's time for us to put our hands in our pockets and try and pay back to society a little bit. And they've done well and deserve to do well. Everyone does. That's the way the world works. But a lot of people have done really bad out of this. We've lost jobs. People have lost loved ones. People just struggle. And I think if there are other people out there doing similar sorts of things, if there's people that have done well, they should probably look at how they can support. And I'm sure a lot of them already are, but they're looking for somewhere to try and put some money or to try and make some impact. Something like that's going to be a huge benefit. The young people right now have probably had it the hardest, I think.
Yeah.
So to give them something back would be a big thing. And then, so any boxers out there that have that can come and endorse us, that can come and help out and just be a little bit of a facer, come and give out some awards or help us with a little bit of getting the word out there. That'd be great. I know Jamie Moore is in the local gym, so I'll have a chat with him. And there's a few other boxers that we can have a chat with about it that are local. But anybody that wants to get involved is just I'm trying to find the word, but somebody that can be an ambassador for what we're doing. And hopefully we can go from delivering one session a week to, make it into a fully fledged boxing club where we can heavily subsidise it for everyone, if not keep it free for as long as possible. That's the aim.
I know this might sound a bit pie in the sky, Dave, but have you reached out to Matchroom, Queensbury Promotions and like BT Sports, Sky Sports, your big hitters in the boxing world?
I've not yet, but it's obviously going to be on there. I mean, right now, I'm just swamped out. I've got to get insurance sorted. The company's just been set up. The bank account's just been opened. I've all the little things that you have to have in place for it to work. They're kind of taking all the time. I've got to find some executives to go on the board. because it's a not-for-profit business. It's a social enterprise. That's how it's set up. So
yeah, community interest company, isn't it? CIC.
yeah. So we can employ people, we can bring staff on, and we can put money in people's pockets as staff, and we can try and turn some of our young people that we train into coaches eventually, and all that sort of thing. But there's no shares or dividends, or there's no profit to be taken from anything that we're doing. So there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to kind of set that up legally and get your accountants on board. So that's kind of taken up. Like I said, 3 weeks ago is when it's been an idea for years, but to use boxing as a social good, to make social impact, not just to make boxers.
Well, I draw parallels with his show, Dave. This is 4 weeks old.
Yeah, well, you've got to start somewhere, haven't you, Carl? And it snowballs. What if you've got a good idea, good products, and you've got good people behind it, it will snowball.
I think it's well, Dave. It's word of mouth.
Where it came with the product, Dave, but I'm looking at my colleagues and wondering whether I need to start doing some loan or free transfers at some stage. We'll cover that another time.
No comment. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. It's called Boxing for Better CIC. We've not got a website up and running yet, but there's a Facebook page, just at Boxing for Better. There's a GoFundMe page if anyone's interested. So 2 free quids if they mount up. That's a big impact. That stops young kids having to pay to come.
You want Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that?
I will get there. Just one step at a time, trying to get it all. But yeah, that's kind of over the next month, all that stuff should be set up. But yeah. Everyone that I've spoke to, every stakeholder, everyone in the community, everyone's excited for it, because there are a couple of local boxing clubs, but generally they focus on making boxers and they do a very good job of it.
Yeah,
that's not my focus. Hopefully we make 1 or 2 good boxers, we can signpost them to a decent boxing gym where they can go and compete. But I want to just give the kids that opportunity to take part in boxing, because I believe it has massive transformational benefits for people. It can really shape people. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Do you know what, Dave? Hats off to you, mate. I think you're doing an amazing thing, because boxing's always been a sport that takes struggling kids off the street and gives them some focus, gives them some direction. And what you're doing is really timely, because we're in a world at the minute where youths are running riot.
Yeah,
and the kind of running scared also as well. There's a lot of kids on the street that perhaps carry knives not because they want to, because they feel they have to.
I'm glad you said that second part, because I think sometimes, as the way the media portray it, it's almost like they really demonise the youth. Now, I've come across very few young people that aren't good to the core. But because of the situation they're brought up in, because of the situations they face when they go out, the world isn't good around them, and they're forced to kind of find alternative ways to navigate the way through that, which we don't look on favourably. We as adults and as kind of upstanding members of society, quote unquote, we kind of look down on certain behaviours as well. You shouldn't be doing that. But I think some people don't often understand why they're doing it and where it comes from and what's causing that. And until we address those issues, it's just going to carry on.
We're not living in their footsteps, though, are we? We're not living in their shoes. The world's a completely different place from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
From when I know you guys are quite a bit younger than me, but from when I was a kid and from when you were younger, short call, from when you were younger, it's a completely different world. And these kids are scared. You can see it.
Yeah.
It's not just about the social issues as well. Yeah, I was going to say the big one as well. No one's mentioned mental health and fitness.
Right. Yeah.
I think I come from a generation. I'll give away my age. I'm 29, so I'm that generation that was playing out and hanging around before mobile phones, before the internet, and then also as they all came in. And the difference I can see, even me now, with how much time I spend on the internet and how much information I get and how quickly I can react to something, what's going on, what in years gone by, people just wouldn't have known about. How quickly things can snowball, little issues can become big things. And I think young people now are caught up in this, every single little detail of everything. You don't get away with it. So if you don't get on top of it or nip it in the bud, they just spiral out of control. He said that, she said that, they've done this, and it can just go from being something that was ill thought out or something that shouldn't have happened to everyone knows about it, and you're in a position where you have to do something about it then. You have
But that's the thing though, Dave, is if you're going with that message in schools, that's what they want to see. If you look at the pandemic, we're talking about how it's hit young people, how many of these 12 and 11, 13, 14-year-olds have just been stuck indoors, and then they can't see their friends at school because school hasn't been open. So if you've got something like this, they can communicate with their peers, and that's better for their mental health, it's better for the fitness, and that's the social results you want to be seeing.
Boxing's on the crest of a wave at the minute, isn't it? You ask any teenager, they know who Anthony Joshua is.
Yeah.
You know his background. You know who Tyson Fury is. You know his background. So, you know, they are role models to these kids, aren't they? You know, come from humble beginnings, let's say. But they've made, they've got a long way through boxing and that discipline, isn't it? You know?
And I think boxing is one of the few things where, say some of your mates are getting up to things that aren't quite what they should be doing. They're doing some negative risk-taking behaviours, all that sort of thing. There's very few things you can turn around to your mates who are doing that and say, no, I'm not coming with you tonight doing whatever you're doing because I'm going to boxing.
Yeah.
And it gives you that street cred still. There's very few other things you can say, no, I'm going doing that, and they're not going to look at you and think, oh, you're soft, or you're this, or you're that. But if you turn and say, no, I'm not coming out tonight, lads, I'm going boxing, you still get that respect. There's that grittiness behind boxing where you keep that street cred, and it's got that, rightly or wrongly, it's got that kind of, it's got that grittiness to it.
Respect.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people from all walks of life look at boxers.
Yeah.
Anyone who's stepped in a ring, anyone who's gone into a gym, anyone who's trained hard, and they have respect for you. Whether they like the sport, whether they like you as a person, they respect that you can box. And I think if you can turn around and say to your mates, I'm going boxing, you don't lose any street cred, you don't lose any respect. It's a safe place to go where you can let your energy off, you can do something positive, and you don't lose any street cred. Whereas there's not a lot of activities like that, a lot of other things. I'll not say other sports or activities because I'm not doing discredit to other people that are doing great things with them sports, but boxing's unique with that. No, I'm going boxing and nobody looks at you and thinks you're doing something soft or something that's not cool. Or
it also teaches things like discipline.
Yeah.
Which then impacts on their outside world away from the gym.
I think so.
And what Ray was saying, mental health, well-being, it all kind of intertwines, don't it? And before they know it, they're a million times better off than they were when they first walked in.
And what I always found about the boxing club as well, leading on from that, you go there and you are surrounded by lads that they had the potential to make some bad choices or go down different paths, and they chose to go to the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week, work hard, take punches, give punches, listen to a coach that screams at them sometimes, tell them to do press-ups and just do it at the drop of the hat. Nobody argues back. And you see that and you think, these lads could have gone and done X, Y, and Z. That would have got them in trouble or would have got them, and they've chose to come and do this. And it's like, there's very few times where you see that, young lads and girls that could have made some bad choices actually putting themselves somewhere where they're doing something really positive.
Dave, I don't want to generalise, Dave, but a lot of it's structure. They're craving structure.
Yeah.
A lot of the youngsters, where they don't necessarily get it elsewhere, so they enjoy that structure and knowing the boundaries. So
I think so, and as well, a lot of the other things that they do, school and other, like saying team sports, there's a lot of expectation. Whereas I know from my experience in a boxing club, the only expectation is that you do as well as you can do. We don't always expect. Not everyone that walks through a boxing gym doors expect it to be a world champion. You just expect it to train as hard as you can do, and a coach picks up on that quickly. Whereas when you go and play for a team sport, you're expected to work well in a team. And if you don't do your job well, the team's on you. And it feels bad. It's not great. So if you're not that way inclined, you'd rebel and you'd step back and you'd leave. Whereas boxing's not like that. You go there, try your hardest. If it doesn't work for you, there's only you punishes you. You walk away, you reflect, and you come back stronger. Whereas in a football team or in school, you get punished by other people all the time. You get pulled off, or you get the mick taken out. Yeah, a little bit that goes on in a boxing club, of course it does, but it's you and you, and that's all that matters in that boxing gym. And I think there's not many other things like that. It's such a personal development sort of sport that it allows people that don't deal well with kind of teams and groups and other people having to fit into other people's expectations and ways of it. It allows them to express themselves in a way that they don't typically get allowed to do when you go to work or school. You're not allowed to express yourself. You've got to do what you've got to do, and that's that.
And another thing, David, I love about boxing gyms, you're accepted no matter what your size or anything. Yeah. You know, there's no expectation. You're welcomed into the gym as a rule, and like you said, you're just expected to try your best. If you fall on your shield, you fall on your shield. You get up and go again. There's nowhere to hide, however. Lonely sport. No. But it does instill that self-belief in yourself, you know. So I hear you. Very good point.
I think so, definitely. And that's what it's about. That's basically what the program's about, giving kids that opportunity. Come, try hard, train hard, make some good friends, do something positive, and it's there for free.
Any other questions, guys?
No, I just want to echo what Andy and Carlos said. Just hats off to you and keep it up, because it will make a difference, and we need more of that, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Dave, no matter where this channel goes, you're always welcome to come on here. We'll always showcase whatever you want to throw on.
I'll be back as well when there's some big fights on, or when there's some topics going, especially some local ones up in Wigan and Manchester and that. Bring me back on, and happily to come have a chat, and
let us know how you're getting on as well, mate. I mean, we're going to be really interested in your journey.
Well, if you follow us on the Boxing for Better on Facebook, and obviously once all the other stuff is, I'll ping it all over to you on email and that, and let you know all the other social media sites and the website, which will be set up in hopefully a couple of weeks' time.
And I'll put it on the channel as well, fella. It's not a problem.
Superb. Thank you.
So you're going to stick around for the second part then, Dave. So thanks a lot for that. Any questions from Ray and before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Brilliant, Dave. Dave sounds like a great initiative. So well done in setting that up. It's not easy on your own, as I've found out on this channel, setting things up on your own. But that's another story. So what we're going to do now, we're going to move on to Andy's reflection on Frampton on Saturday night. And then Dave will also come to you for your quick spiel on it. Andy, take the floor.
Well, firstly, I'd like to say what a fantastic career Frampton's had. I feel really, really gutted for the guy, because he didn't deserve to go out the way he went out. I understood why he took the fight, but I'm sure on reflection, he probably now looks back and thinks it was probably a step too far. But that golden nugget of a third weight belt, you can't blame him for taking the opportunity. I don't necessarily think that it was Frampton being bad, more as Herring fighting out of his skin. For me, he was great. He did the basics really well, and just didn't allow Frampton to get anything off. Didn't allow Frampton to get inside. The height difference and the reach difference was massive, and Frampton just couldn't get inside to do anything. Anytime he got close, he was getting clipped, and he just didn't have any answers. Yeah, maybe he was a little bit off his pace, maybe wasn't quite as quick a foot as he has been, in the past 4 or 5 years. But I think Erin did a great job. I'll add
a little bit there. I think me and Dave said on the show last week that was concerned that Frampton may have got old.
Yeah,
and he looked that way, didn't he?
He did, but I don't, like I say, I don't know whether that was as much of Frampton getting old as that. Herring's game plan was just perfect.
I don't think Herring will ever box as well as he did.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so, Ray.
I think he was just absolutely punch perfect.
I listened to an interview on Talk Sport earlier on this week, with Jamie Moore, and he was very honest, Jamie Moore, and he said he knew it was going to be a difficult task anyway, Frampton moving up, but he didn't expect Erin to fight as well as that. And like we said, you know, we thought Frampton was in with a great chance. You know, we've not seen Erin fight anywhere near at that level, but everything was bang on. You know, I don't think
it was Erin being good. I think it was Frampton wasn't at the races. That's my view. I think you're giving Erin too much credit.
I think we should give Frampton respect though, because we criticise so many fighters for not taking those 50-50 fights and for ducking out. I mean, to me, Frampton's been one of the most exciting boxers we've ever seen for a long time. I love how he's boxed. He's explosive. He's fast. He moves in and out. And he wasn't on form this week. He didn't do great. But sometimes you take that one fight. You can't criticise a boxer when they go that one step too far when they've taken that 50-50. I think kudos to him. I think
Dave, I'm not criticising him. I'm just saying that I don't think Erin's performance was all.
A bit of a glitch there. No, you're right. I don't think Eddie's best performance, to be honest, Carl. He didn't. Nothing compared to what he's been like in the past. I just can't help but feel a little bit sorry for him that might be the last time he's remembered. Well, it probably is going to be the last time. I know he said he's retired, but you never do know, do you? But I just think the guy's taking a fight. It's a 50-50 fight. And I just, from what he's done in the past and what his career's been like, I just feel for him that he's gone out that way, but I don't think that should be. I hope he's not remembered for that fight because he's miles better than that.
And Dave, I don't think he will be.
No,
especially not in Belfast. I don't think he will be. I think he'll be remembered for all his great achievements. I think people will realise and think actually, physically, it was probably a step too far.
Yeah,
but I do think he'll be remembered for everything else that he's achieved in his career.
Ray, you can't fault him. He wanted one more throw of the dice, didn't he? That's what he wanted.
It's like what I was saying last time. No, he had the eye of the tiger. He had the bit between his teeth because he had the chance to be the Island of Islands first freeweight world champion. I mean, he would have been kicking himself in a couple of years if he hadn't have had done it. Because let's be honest about it, Herring is probably the worst out of all those world champions at that weight class.
Yep.
Agreed.
If you sorry.
Agreed, but if he fights like that again, he's got a chance against the other. I still can't see him beating Valdez, Bichelt. You know, I mean, he's still got tanking in around there. There's some top fighters at that weight class. I think he'll struggle against. I think they'll probably be able to do what Frampton's mind wanted, his body couldn't. They'll be able to put their lead foot on the outside. You know, when he takes 2 steps back, they'll be able to cut off his angles and cut off that ring down. Frampton wanted to do that, but he couldn't.
He just couldn't get past that jab, I don't think. I think every time that jab came out, he just couldn't.
And every time Herring was landing, every time he was landing with a jab and Frampton was coming inside, as we were seeing the call, Herring was taking 2 steps back to keep that distance. So Frampton was always he just couldn't work out. He
ran out of ideas. Let's be honest, he ran out of ideas.
Very early on, he did.
Frampton's size didn't help matters though.
He's 5'5", and the fella was 5'10".
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a massive difference, isn't it? It's a huge difference. Do you think the crowds have much effect? Like somebody like Frampton who fights with such energy and such high tempo. Do you think the crowds kind of not being there?
I don't. No, Dave. I mean,
you've probably discussed it already. To be honest, with what's going on.
No. To be fair, that's one thing we've never discussed on here. But I don't really buy this one because, you know, you hear especially the matchroom fighters going, "Oh well, for Josh Warrington, the crowd weren't there, and I'm relying on the crowd." Well, it's a fight. I'm pretty sure most fighters will say as soon as you're in that ring. We just said it before, but it's a lonely place, a boxing ring. You and your opponent, that's it.
No, I agree with that, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, Dave, me and Andy interviewed Carl Greaves, just to drop a name in there for you last night. And he was saying that you don't really hear the crowd when you're in the middle of a bout anyway, because you're that focused on the fight. So he brushed it aside and did into very quick.
You're right as well. And to be honest, when you're getting punched in the face, it doesn't take much more to get you going than that, does it? If you can't get up and going when you're being punched, you know, if you need a crowd around you when somebody's hitting you to get you fired up, then, you know, it's probably not the greatest argument for a boxer, is it, that one? What
Paul Greaves did say was he only noticed it afterwards when they were doing interviews. He was saying he couldn't believe how silent it was, because normally you still get the crowd in the background, don't you? You get a lot of noise. And
Eddie Hearn gets booed.
Sometimes you struggle to hear the questions, but he was saying how it was deathly silent. But when his fighter's in the ring, he's only concentrating on his fighter, and his fighter's only concentrating on the man in front of him. So I agree with you, Ray. I don't think it plays that much of a part, really. And I think the guys that are saying it does. That's probably a bit of an excuse.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, to be honest. I think I said it there, now you've explained it the way you're thinking. I think that's spot on. You fight at the end of the day. You don't need a crowd to get you going. You've got somebody in front of you trying to take your head off. That's enough, isn't it, for any man? You turn it on in sparring, you turn it on in the gym, don't you? The fight's the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Carl Greaves was saying that he's actually turned the music off in the gym to try and replicate what it's like when you go into the fight. So that was quite interesting as well. Yeah. So I think that brings Frampton to an end. I just think hindsight's a great thing, but he had no choice but to take the fight, did he? Because he was looking at making history. So congratulations on a great career, Carl. Enjoy your retirement.
Yep.
So what we'll go on to next? Shall we go on to Saturday's card then? So we start looking at the undercard and work our way up.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me.
So which fight do you want to start with? Cash Farouk?
Yeah, you can do. Ray, do you want to give us your view on that fight?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, while Ray's looking at it, I'll jump in with my view, Andy.
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
So I think Cash Farouk is probably British level at best. And I just think he's a bit of a brawler, isn't he? He likes to tear up. He's a little bit naughty in the ring. But he's definitely getting a push, isn't he? Promotional-wise. Definitely. So he's appeared on quite a few cards now, hasn't he? You know? So he's getting a lot of opportunities. So I think he comes through this fight. And I think he'll hang around the British scene with the likes of Nick Webb and Dubois, and that'll be about his level. That's my prediction.
Right.
Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I've not been too impressed with Cash when I've seen him box. I personally think that he's, when you're looking at the levels of the guys that are up there now, I just don't think he's even. I mean, we saw when we were looking at Fabio Wardley. I just think that he's not even there yet. So I'm not expecting him to go on and progress to do anything. He just seems to be, and I mean this with all due respect to him. He just English title level. So I think he'll win. I think he'll win, but I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting great things from him.
Where do you put him in and around then? If you're talking about the English scene, are you talking about Nick Webb? Is he on Nick Webb's level?
About there, yeah. I mean, he's not. You see, for me, you've got you've got the three big ones in the big four in us. So you've got Joshua, White, Joyce, Fury. Then you've got the likes of underneath. You've got the likes of Dubois. Then Gorman. Then you've got people like your prospects. Then you've got people like Webb.
Do you not still class Dubois as a prospect? Bearing in mind he stepped up and got beat quite convincingly.
Yeah, he is. But Dubois has got something about him, though. Dubois can punch. Dubois got something about him. Of course, he's still a prospect, but Dubois got something. Dubois brings something to the table. A lot of these guys beneath him, that's what I'm saying, don't. I mean, he, as well as he got beaten good fashion off Joyce, didn't he beat Gorman in pretty much emphatic fashion as well?
He destroyed Gorman, didn't he?
So there's levels there, and that's what I'm arguing. So already in the heavyweight division in Britain, you're seeing it breaking up into big levels.
Yeah,
and he's
Gorman came in out of shape.
Well, he always has done. He was in his last fight, and if you saw John Fury afterwards, John Fury was like, he really needs. If he doesn't lose the weight now, he never is. I don't think, because he's one of those fighters that's comfortable training at home. I thought he was gonna, when he was training up in Manchester, was training with Ricky Hatton. I thought that's what you need to get the discipline, be away from home, be away from his family. But he's not. He's gone back home again. So for me, he's too comfortable, and I think as long as he's putting performances like that, like he did last time, but he's not going to be against. He's going to step up with an opponent who are going to be a lot more robust, and that's where his condition's going to come into play.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, that's where I see through.
Yeah. I've not watched a great deal of him, to be honest. What I have seen, he doesn't blow me away. It's very basic. He's nothing. I can't really say much more than what Ray just said there. He's not at that top level anywhere near, I don't think. But then again, I've not watched every single fight of his. I've only seen bits of what he's done. So you never know. Sometimes boxers come into their own overnight and they have that one good performance. It can light that fire. But I don't sense that's going to happen anytime soon.
So we normally do a predictions, don't we, lads? So Andy, give your take on it, and then we'll have some predictions.
I agree with Ray that I haven't seen anything in him that I think he's gonna do anything anywhere near even British level. But that's my opinion. I think he's gonna win, probably on points.
Yeah, that I'd go for a points win.
Just to let you know, lads, I'm getting some terrible. My internet connection seems to be terrible, so I am freezing. I do apologise.
No, it's no problem, mate.
No, don't worry about it.
So, Dave, did you say points win, Dave?
I'd go for a points win as well. Yeah.
Ray?
Yeah, I think you'll probably get a. I think you'll probably get a stoppage. Is it what rounds is this one? Is it going to be an 8-rounder or?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Sorry, I don't have that in front of me.
Right. I think you'll probably get a TKO. But it, because obviously it depends on what rounds. But that's what I'll go for.
Right. Okay.
Well, I'm not going to sit on the fence like Ray did, so I'm going to go round 5.
Let's hope it's not a 4-rounder.
Yeah, I don't think it will be though. So I'll go. If it's a 10-rounder, I'm going to go round 5. So let's move up the card then. Savannah Marshall against Maria Lindbergh. Yeah, I like Savannah Marshall. I think she's a great fighter. So who's going first on this one then?
I will. I think.
I bet you're going TKO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8.
Easy. I tell you what, Savannah Marshall. I think Clarissa Shields is avoiding her like the plague because of what Savannah Marshall. Sorry.
I agree with you, mate.
Savannah Marshall is a serious puncher. She can hit at middleweight, super middleweight, and she stepped up at light heavyweight, and she's done the damage there. She probably lacks that little bit of finesse, but that'll come because she's guided by Peter Fury, and so I've got no doubt that that'll come because that's his style. He's a boxing purist, so you'll add those little bits, and she's a very keen learner. So it's a bit the only problem I've got for this fight is our opponent only got announced yesterday late.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's coming Lindenberg from Sweden. She's only got I think she's had something like 6 defeats from what Savannah was saying.
19 fights, raised 6 defeats.
Yeah, that's what Savannah was saying. And every time it looks as though every time she's stepped up, she's being beaten. But she'll be tough. But make no mistake, Savannah will get rid of her. I think Savannah will stop her, get her out. And I think she'll get her out within 4 rounds.
Carl? Is there anybody there?
I don't think Carl's there. Is he glitching again a little bit? I think Savannah Marshall's. I think she's got a lot of quality, like you say. She's not the finished article yet, but her power. I think she's strong, and she'll definitely win it by knockout or TKO. Early to mid fight, I can't see it going in the later rounds. Especially she's just got somebody who's kind of just been pulled out last minute because you can't imagine they've been overly prepared for it. So, yeah, you've got to back Savannah to put her away by mid-fight.
This is an interesting matchup for me. Very good matchmaking, in my opinion, because Limbo's got a bit of experience. And I agree with Ray that it looks like when she stepped up, she's got beat. I think they've made this fight hoping that Savannah gets some rounds in. And I can see what Ray's saying, and she probably will stop her, and she probably will stop her early. But I think they're hoping that maybe this girl stays in for a bit and gives her a bit of trouble, gives her something to think about, rather than just blowing people away.
The thing is, Andy, Savannah's going to be one of those people that, from what I've seen, and Dave will say this because he's seen bits of her in the gyms up in the northeast. If she sniffs an opportunity, she'll get you out of there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She's not going to mess about. And this is about building, because she will need rounds if she's going to fight someone like Clarissa Shields.
Yeah.
Because Clarissa Shields, for all that she lacks that power, she's the most skilled, pound for pound. She's the best female fighter, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, Katie Taylor's special, but she got beat up her soon, if you're asking me.
Yeah,
Clarissa Shields is practically won every.
Fight.
Yeah, the first one. Sorry, I need to be. Yeah, the second one Taylor won in my book. First one Pursoon won, but Clarissa Shields for me, she practically won every single round of every opponent she's faced as a pro. And I
don't think she has it all her own way against Savannah Marshall, though, mate.
No, but so all her opponents she's had.
Yeah,
she's practically almost won every single round. I mean, she's undisputed in the 2 weight classes, which had never been done before, male or female. But I do think Savannah gives her kittens. Yeah, I'm being frank with you, and I think that's why she's delaying that fight as long as possible. They're going to collide, and I think maybe they want to give her rounds before that fight. But I just think if Savannah gets any hint that this lass doesn't want to be in that ring, she's going to take her out.
Oh yeah, and if what you're saying, that there's right, and I tend to agree with you about Clarissa Shields, that's a bit of a scary game to play because Savannah Marshall's only going to get better.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's what I was saying under the tutelage of Peter Fury. I absolutely agree with you. The sparring should be getting there. The improvements on a footwork, on a head movement. She's already a very good body puncher. I mean, you saw when she fought Hannah Rankin, the girl from Scotland.
Yeah.
She was very good, and she dismantled her. She absolutely. It looked as though really she wasn't. I think the first round you could say, it was pretty much even. I just gave it to Marshall. But after that, Marshall just got better and better and better, really stamped their authority, really put it on her. And her jab was so ramrod, it was like a weapon. It really was. She couldn't get close to her.
Do you know what as well? We've all said, haven't we, how much we appreciate Peter Fiore and the way he coaches, but not just that. His approach to boxing, he's so level-headed with everything he says. You don't see him get et up in interviews. He says it how it is, and he doesn't, and he also doesn't praise people for the sake of praising people neither. But he's come out and said no end of times how talented he thinks Savannah is.
Yeah. He knows what he's talking about too, like you say. He knows boxing through and through, and he wouldn't say things like that easily. He wouldn't just throw that phrase away easily. If he sees something in someone and it's there and he's saying it, then you probably got to take that as true, because he knows exactly what he's talking about when it comes to boxing. He's not a hype man, is he? He knows exactly how to get the job done and what it takes to do the job and to be at that top level. And if he's saying that about her, then perhaps she has got it in her to go, to that very, very top level. I like her. I think she's tough, and under Peter Fury, she is only going to get better. Her technique, like you said, everything about all the finesse, about how she boxes, about how she can evade shots and make sure she capitalises on opportunities a little bit better. I think she's not right at the top yet, but she's got everything there that could take her there. I think
she's got potential, Dave. She's got potential, and the other thing I want to say as well, lads, is you can see her. Savannah Marshall's quite a quiet girl. She's notorious for it up here. We all know it. She's really, really shy. But what you can see is she's becoming a lot more confident. You can see it in her interviews. And I think Fury's bringing that out of her. She's starting to realise, not in an arrogant way, but just how good she is. And I think a happy fighter and a confident fighter is a dangerous fighter. Yeah,
absolutely. And Peter's rubbing off on her, definitely, in the sense that he keeps her level-headed. There's no egos in that gym.
Not a reason.
And she's doing amazing things, but he'll keep her grounded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay. So this next fight looks like a barnstormer. Shannon Courtney against Ebony Bridges.
What would you say on that, Andy?
There's some needle in this fight, isn't there?
Oh, I don't know whether you guys saw the clip where Ebony Bridges is speaking to Savannah Marshall and Shannon Courtney walks past.
No, I haven't.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, you need to catch it. It's nothing major. They're just having a little chat. The girls, Ebony and Savannah Marshall.
This in the bubble, is it? Is this in the bubble?
Yeah, it's in the bubble, and it's interesting because I think you guys asked the question when you were speaking to Lee Wood and Carl Greaves about how close the fighters are together.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're on top of each other.
There's nowhere else for them to go.
No.
So I think what's happened is Shannon's walked past and they've tried to stare each other out. Ebony's made a joke of it, and Shannon's just come back with come back and try to bite on Ebony. But I think this one, you've got to remember, none of these lasses have both had less than 7-8 fights.
Yeah, they've only had like 6 and 5 fights each, I think.
Yeah, you never know what it's gonna when you. I know that when you're still novice, you just never know what he's going to throw up, and especially right now with all that the tension, like you say, if they're in that bubble together and they've seen each other all that time, and it could just become a barnstorm. It could just become.
Yeah, I think when people say boxing's 90% mental, I think this is what they're talking about, because the two can cope with the pressure cooker if staying in that environment for a week, performing under the bright lights. Courtney's had a loss against Bo. She's really keen to reverse that and get that rematch. Ebony, I think's got nothing to lose.
Coming over from about that fight, Ray. Did that surprise you, that loss?
No, it didn't. And I've heard a few people say they expected Shannon Courtney to walk all over Bo. Bo was already an accomplished boxer, and I think it saw styles in that fight. And I think what it showed is that although Courtney can punch, she was a little bit slow at adapting. It was a close fight, but I had Bo winning by 2 rounds. I thought she was controlling the fight better. She was landing the cleaner shots.
Yeah, I think she showed a few vulnerabilities in Shannon Courtney in that fight.
Yeah,
but I think also on the flip side of that, Shannon Courtney would have learned a lot from that loss.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Andy, she's getting better, and she every performance she's getting better, isn't she? Shannon Courtney. You know,
this is for me. This is a pick and fight. Yeah. I think it can go either way.
The press conference was lively today. I don't know if you've seen it, but it started off nice, but then there's a bit of needle towards the end. So it promises to be a spicy fight on Saturday.
It does. But then again, I'll be honest. It depends. I think we're also going to see how good Bridges is, because I always say it with fighters, male and female, coming from Australia, their opponents are never really the best.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to see when these fighters come out of Oceania, New Zealand, and Australia, just how good they are when they've got unbeaten records, because their opponents don't really go anywhere.
She's a good talker, though, isn't she? She's a very good talker.
She is a good talker. Look, she's obviously been promoted well. She's well known over here in America without, kind of coming over here to fight. She is, but Shannon is as well. Shannon's very serious. And I think Shannon's one of those female boxers that wants to be known for what she can do in the ring rather than what she looks like. And I respect her for that.
Yeah.
But if she wants to put anything right with Rachel Ball, she needs to forget about that, concentrate on doing a job against Emily Bridges, and then she can talk about that fight afterwards.
You know what? That burns on her, though, that Rachel Ball fight.
It does. And that's why, when you said, what did I make of it and stuff, and you said, hopefully she'll learn from it. And that's why I said hopefully, because she doesn't look for me as a fighter that's got over that yet. It's a little bit like Fowler Fitzgerald. All you hear Fowler talk about is, I want that rematch, I want that rematch. It's,
do you know what? It's aggravated me that with both of them. They need to park it, I think. I think Fitzgerald, sorry, I know we've gone on a different tangent here, but I've boxed both these boys when I was in the amateurs, so I follow them quite closely. And
who do you rate as the best then, Dave, out of them two?
They both beat me, so it's very hard for me to put either of them down.
Dave, don't sit on the fence.
I think as a boxer, I think Fitzgerald's a little bit of a better boxer. Fowler kind of reminds me of Froch. He's dangerous. He could take you out with... He just throws the heaviest punches that you've ever seen. Yeah. He's not... If ever I speak to him and he hears me say this, he's not the most finesse boxer in the world. He doesn't look the nicest to the eye, but he can back it up. And whatever he says he's going to do, he's got a very good chance of doing it because he can hit so hard. Fitzgerald, I think, trained very hard for that fight. I think that was his absolute everything. That was his world title fight, and I hope he gets things right, because I know he went off the
he had some problems, didn't he?
I hope he gets things right so he can come back and box that level again. But I think he just saw Fowler, because of the rivalry, as such a big fight, and in reality, it was a stepping stone for either of them. It was never a big fight in reality for them both in terms of where the career's going to go. And whether you won or lost that, you can't get hung up on it, because there's so much more to go and achieve in boxing. And they both got hung up on that fight. And I think it's not a great situation to put yourself in psychologically, because neither of them was really like the finished opponent. But there's bigger and better out there, and I think they both need to let it go. If it happens again, it happens again. But it's not the be all and end all, I don't think, and they both stuck with that, and they need to park it a little bit and go and move on to bigger and better things and refocus their careers.
Dave, what level did Fowler get to?
But what, in the amateurs?
No. What in the pro game? Do you think he's a class Commonwealth?
I don't think he's going to get managed very, very well, is it? And this is my issue with pro boxing. This is why I don't watch it as closely as maybe the amateurs, because boxers that aren't quite as good, if they come from the right place and they got the right kind of backing, they get managed well. I'm not saying Fowler doesn't deserve to go all the way, but I think from a boxing point of view, there's a lot better boxers out there. But then again, the same could be said of Carl Froch, and he went all the way. So he works hard, he trains very hard, he puts it in, he's very kind of... very kind of.
I'm very close to clicking that kick button. Outrageous.
Are you a big Carl Froch fan? Well, he's not the greatest boxer.
Well,
but
they're not the lads, aren't they? So they're going to be, yeah.
He's one of the most dangerous fighters you've seen for a very long time. He could finish anybody off if he senses that finish is in there. He's the man who's going to finish it.
You know when you think you like someone, then they come out with a sentence and it kills it.
You don't think so? I mean, come on. He's not the most finesse boxer in the world, is he? I'll shut up now. He's done very good. He's done very good things. He's done very good things.
Funny you said that though, Dave, because my understanding is Froch and Fowler did a lot of sparring together.
Yeah, they would have done. I think in Sheffield, definitely. And I think they're identical in terms of how they box. I think they've got that big all-round right hand. I think they step in behind all the shots. They go looking for big heavy shots, and they both they pack a lot of power. But in terms of that pure boxing ability, there's better boxers out there. It's whether the other boxers can weather their storm. And a lot of lads will not be able to weather the storm of Fowler. I can promise you that. I've been hit by him, and he is hard. He can hit very, very, very hard. Fitzgerald doesn't have that, but he can move in and out quicker. He can get around you quicker. He's a little bit more of a neat, tidy, sharp boxer, and that's the difference between them, I think.
For me, if Fitzgerald gets himself sorted, I think he's the best out of the British bunch.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All day, twice on a Sunday. Yeah, I've seen it in the amateurs. I've seen it in the amateurs, and I've seen it as a pro. I just don't think. But I also just don't think the other guys are that good. I think if they weren't in the matchroom, more people would be saying that. I just think it's because a lot of it's to do with the fact that the matchroom fighters.
Yeah, and like Dave just said, they've been managed properly, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. You get managed well. If you don't get managed well, you have to go and have them 50-50 fights early doors, don't you? And that can send your career one or two ways, depending how you do on the night. But if you get managed well, you get looked after, and you can go a lot further, a lot easier, I think.
Yeah,
it's not right.
Yeah, you could argue that with Froch. You could argue that with Froch, couldn't you? It was with NSC a bit too long, in my view. Then he went to Matchroom and started filling stadiums with 80,000. He's mentioned it once or twice, hasn't he? So I agree, Dave. It's all about you. It's all about your marketability and your manager.
So we're going to do the main fight then, lads.
We hold on a minute. We went off on a tangent and we never got predictions for the Courtney Bridges fight. Go on, Ray.
I'm going for Courtney. I'm thinking that she'll have realised that she can't just go knocking every lass out.
Yeah.
That there are some people that can take her power. So for me, I think she'll put on what boxing ability she'll have, and I'm going to go for a points win for Shannon Courtney.
And by the way, she has boxing ability as well.
She does. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we know enough about Bridges. I think, like you said, she's not boxed that top level opponent consistently. She's done well who she has faced, but you just don't know enough. I think if I had to put money on it, it'd definitely be Courtney. Maybe by a late knockout, but definitely by points.
Hold
on a minute. Dave's giving us two answers there.
Late knockout. That'd be go different to Ray. I think them last couple of rounds, I think she could get a knockout.
So pick a round then, Dave.
What is it? Is it a 10-rounder?
I think it's 10 rounder. Let's have a look.
So yeah, round. I'm gonna go round 8.
Oh.
While Cole's looking for that, I'll give my opinion. This could be a banana skin for Shannon Courtney.
Oh, here we go.
You need to be very careful in this fight because, like we've all said, we don't know enough about Bridges. I still think that Courtney's got enough, though. I agree with Ray, but I actually think she stops her. I think she stops her in the late rounds.
You got to give a round. You're not allowed to say that.
Dave, you're getting the gist of this, aren't you?
Let's find out from Mr. Cole then. What is it, a 10 or a 12 rounder, Cole?
I'm just looking for it. You just carry on talking.
It might be a 12 because it's for a title.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right, I'll bump mine up to round 9 then.
You can't do that, Dave.
Watch you'll change it on Sunday morning.
Yeah. Remember, I'm the only one who edits the videos. That's why I'm winning the predictions game.
Come on, Carl. Waiting on you.
I'll be honest, I don't stay up too late and watch the fights. Most of what I see is the highlights. I've got 3 young kids at home, so I don't get a chance to stay up too late and watch most of them. This is probably the latest I've stayed up all week, to be honest, lads.
I thought you looked a bit tired, Dave. I thought it just Andy's boring talk that done it.
Well, I'm going to go round 10, lads.
I can't find it, boys. So I don't know if you can jump on and find it.
Yeah, I'll have a little look. While you's I'll get you.
Let's move on then.
Am I allowed to give my prediction or not then?
I did ask you, mate, but you kind of backed away from it, didn't you?
So because I don't worry about rounds, I'm going to predict. I think Shannon Courtney will stop her in round 7.
Right. Okay.
And it'll be a body shot. There you go. Anything else you want? Don't you know?
That's all right.
I think she's orthodox in chair, so I'm going to go right. Anything else you want? You know, how many steps to the punch or anything like that?
Wow. No, I think it's a good prediction.
Round 7. Oh, are you jumping on my bandwagon now then, Dave? Is that how it works?
I say that it's a great prediction. It's you've not sat on the fence, have you? There's no splinters in your eye.
My name's not Ray.
Come on then, Carl. Seeing as though you're feeling a bit confident tonight, let's have your
top
opinion.
Of the league, Andy. Top of the league.
Let's have what on one prediction.
One more than you guys have got.
Let's have your opinion on Vargas Benn then.
Yeah, what a great fight this is. I've been changing my mind a lot on this fight. I'll be brutally honest with you. I know Amir Khan's been quite vocal, hasn't he, during the build-up, telling Conor Benn to be careful of Vargas. But I think Conor Benn's got that bit between his teeth, and he can see them big fights on the horizon, can't he? So I'm going to go for a points win for Conor Benn.
Dave?
All right, Conor Benn. I hope he wins. It's a dangerous fight. It could be anyone's come to. I think I'm going to have to say the same. Points win, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, here we go.
I do like Conor Benn.
Good fighter.
Yeah, and I think between him and the Eubank kind of situation, I'm Conor Benn all the way. I like him. I just think he's much more what I go for. So yeah, I hope he wins, but it could go either way. But yeah, I hope he wins. I'm going to go points as well.
Hold on a minute, Dave. Are you purposely covering all bases here? And is this for the replay on next week or something?
I hope he wins. I like him. Points. There you are. You can't get more.
But you're giving it that it could go the other way, but couldn't you just cover your own cover the base? I'm telling you, he'll be on next week giving it a large, saying, I predicted it right, look, lads. I'm top of the league.
For me, guys, I actually think Ben stops him. I think he stops him mid to late rounds. I tell you why.
Really?
I think he's getting Vargas. Yeah, I do. I think he's getting Vargas at a good time.
You think he breaks him up, Andy?
I think he breaks him up. I think he's getting him at a good time. Vargas is coming to the latter part of his career, in my opinion. He's only fought since the Amir Khan fight in 2018. He's only fought 4 times, and he's lost 2 of them fights.
He's a crafty fighter, though.
He is, but he don't like it put on him.
But then again, what you got to think of is you only lost to Ortiz, right? Who's knocking everybody out over there.
Yep.
And Louis Colazzo.
Yeah, very, very true. I agree. And we said, didn't we, last week? This is an acid test for Conor Benn.
It is absolutely. Yeah.
I think Conor Benn has come on leaps and bounds since them early fights. The break, the COVID situation has hindered a lot of fighters, but in my opinion, it's helped Conor Benn no end.
Why? Gym, hasn't he?
He's spent all that time in the gym. He's got a great camp around him, and he seems to have gone from a boy to a man overnight. His last performance was fantastic, very measured. Didn't rush in like he was in his earlier fights. So for me, I know it's a bold prediction. Conor Benn stops in round 7.
It only counts if you tell us with what shot.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. Dave, you can come again.
Left up.
No, it'd be nice. A stoppage would be good for him. I think.
I tell you what, as well. I tell you what, as well, Dave. If he does stop him,
it send a message out. Definitely,
a big message out. It sends a big message out.
Yeah.
Go on, Ray.
It's points for me. I think Ben showed. Yeah, Andy, you've said it. Well, I think we've all said it. He showed great improvements. He's been very patient in his work. He's learned how to jab, but he's had to because he had very little amateur experience. He had, I think, 9 or 10 fights over in Australia before turning pro. He's been unlucky. He's been fortunate and unlucky in the sense that he's had to have his learning fights on sky builds.
Yeah,
big sky builds. So he's got all that scrutiny and pressure. So you're right. He's learned and he's proved. He's come on leaps and bounds. His jab's been tremendous. He's become. You can see physically stronger in there. But because Vargas is the toughest of all gatekeepers, and the only people I've seen stopping him are the likes of Errol Spence, Ortiz,
you're elite,
a lot harder than Conor Benn. I think people talk about Ben's power. He's not the same category as what you would put his dad. I think Conor is.
Not yet, anyway.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a natural. He's a natural heavy-handed puncher. I think he'll hit hard enough to get respect, but I don't think he's with Vargas. He's going to be one of those guys that you put away if you're a bomber. If he did wow, I'll be very surprised. That would be a significant statement, but I don't think he can do that unless he wears him down so much that he's just taking a cumulative.
I think that's what he's going to do. I think he'll break him up.
But I think you want to show. I think you want to show he can box, and I think you want to show you the skills. So I'm going to go for a points win.
Fair enough.
So there we have it. So is there anything else you want to cover before we bring the stream to an end?
No, I think that's good. I think that's good. We'll
Right.
we'll have a bit of a catch up on Thursday when we knock Carl off his pedestal as being the man to get the right predictions.
Form is temporary, Andy, and all that. You know. So, Dave, we're going to wrap it up then. Thanks for coming on, Dave. You're always welcome to jump back on in the future. Send us all your information over, and we'll gladly advertise it on the channel. Ray, cheers for coming on, fella, and it's been a pleasure.
Always.
I'll bring this to an end. Feel free to stay on for a couple of minutes after Dave.
Yeah,
and we'll have a quick chat. Thank you, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe in the chat bar. See you next week.